Greetings. The International College of Behavioral Counseling welcomes you to Life-Defining Axioms. Each axiom contains essential wisdom for living, and today's axiom reads this way: Nostalgia is a pleasant escape, but it is an awful prison. Nostalgia, wistfulness, memories of the past can be a pleasant escape, but it can be an awful prison. And so, is your memories an escape or is it a prison? Memories can lead us down some beautiful paths. We can bask in its glory, walking down the lane with our wife or our lover, um, having a picnic in the bush. We can actually hear the water running down the stream. We can smell the smells. Oh, those were wonderful days. How I long for those days. That's nostalgia. But reality can be quite different. It can be a difficult storm for us to handle, particularly when it ends in a cemetery. That's a graveyard. Pining for the lost, as difficult as it is to lose someone, brings no relief. Uh, grieving is a very healthy because it gets the emotions out. However, all grieving and all sorrow has boundaries. And we must set a boundary upon our grieving or upon our hurt. I had a lady who came to me. She was a widow of 5 years. Her husband had died 5 years earlier. He was a pastor and she was the pastor's wife. 5 years she ends up in my office. She is painful. She looks sorrowful. She said, I've cried almost every day since he died and passed away from me. In our conversation, I discovered that his clothes, his suits that he wore, were still hanging in the closet. I thought to myself, and the cufflinks and his ring and his wristwatch were still lying on the nightstand beside the bed where he had put them when he died the night he died. 5 years. I thought to myself, man, this lady is married to a corpse. She still had his wedding rings on her fingers. I remember encouraging her gently. I said, dear, you need to get rid of those clothes. They're going to be out of style and somebody can use them right now. Your husband has no need for them, okay? I said, secondly, you need to take those cufflinks and that wristwatch off the counter and where he left them and wipe under it. And you need to break loose. I remember the last day that she was with me, I looked at her and I said, your husband must have loved you very dearly. Those beautiful rings, your engagement and wedding ring, may I give them to you? And she looked at me rather puzzling and she said, but I've got them. I said, I know that. I know you have them. Let me give them to you. And she held out her hand like this. And I took it gently and I took the finger and I took the rings off her finger. And I said, these are beautiful rings. Your husband must have loved you dearly. It carries such sentiment to you, but you're no longer married to him. Why don't you take these rings and the diamonds and have them made into a beautiful pennant and put it around your neck and your chain? That way you can have the memory of your husband without being married to him. I tell you, dear, he's happy where he is, and your grieving in no way helps him. It only destroys you. She's locked in a gilded cage. I don't care how beautiful the cage is. You're locked in a gilded cage, and you're locked into the memories of the past, and it become a prison to you. Job lost everything. Not only his, he lost his cattle, he lost his camels, he lost his sheep, he lost his children were all killed, his home was destroyed. And in the second assault, he lost his health, boils all over his body. He sat in the ashes and took a potsherd, a broken piece of pottery, and would scrape the pus off himself. He lost absolutely everything except his integrity. The story is found here in Job chapter 1, verses 20 and 22. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and he shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job did not sin or charge God foolishly. Sometimes when things don't go right, we blame God for it. God, why have you allowed it? Maybe we need to look at the reason why God removed such a person from, why God put you into that position. In everything, give thanks. Give thanks, for this is the will of God concerning you. In everything, give thanks. Yes, in everything, give thanks. The good times and the bad times. We give you thanks, O God, because this is the will concerning me. So don't allow your memories to lock you into a gilded cage. Don't be a prisoner of your past. Self-pity can ruin your life. Self-absorption, self-preoccupation. Why don't you give yourself to somebody else, as Jesus did, who girded himself with a towel, and then he went and poured water into a basin and bent down and washed his disciples' feet. He served others. Maybe that would get us out of our gilded cage, our prison. And so we have pleasant memories, and we have confining ghosts that continually assail us. Pining for the lost does not bring any relief to those who have died, and it certainly doesn't bring any relief to you. All it does is bring torment. King David lost his son with Bathsheba. And while he was dying, he mourned and mourned and prayed to God that God would spare him. But when the child died, he went ahead and washed his face, and he washed himself. He put on clean raiment, clean clothing, and he said, My son will not come to visit me, but I will go to visit him. And those of you who have lost a loved one, as I have, 5 of my personal families have preceded me: my wife, my son, my daughter, another daughter, and my sister. 5 within a 3-year period, except for my wife. When I heard all that news and I was way out of the town, way out of the country, I fell on my knees before my bed and I worshiped. And I said, Father, you give and you take away. I bless your name and I worship you and I praise you. Dear ones, learn to praise the Lord. Be satisfied with what you have. It's a great way to get rich. And so what we do is contentment. Grieving, continual grieving, brings no joy to the one who's deceased. You can grieve all you want, but he's not going to experience any relief from it. Jesus escaped Gethsemane only one way. Remember, in Gethsemane, he pined for his brethren because he knew in a couple hours they would all leave him. He went up and prayed 3 times, and he prayed with such intensity, "Oh God, take this cup from me," that it was as though blood came from his forehead and dropped to the ground. That night, he was arrested. He was charged falsely by the Sanhedrin. He was committed to the Roman prison stocks. Then he was beaten. Then he carried the cross up to Calvary. The only way he could get rid of Gethsemane was by the way of the cross. And maybe we should die. Maybe we should learn how to die. Maybe we should learn how to play corpse, be dead. Die to the things that you've lost. Maybe we need to take an inventory of all the pains that we have had and then die to them, because the way to newness of life is through death. Lord, help me to be a corpse so that I can walk in newness of life. Well, what I've shared with you today is good psychology. It's great theology. And it is essential wisdom for living. I'm Wilf Kent. Visit our website, the icbconline.org. And so farewell and keep well until next time.